ever scroll through your feed and just think, man, the internet could really use a cleanup crew today? You're just trying to enjoy some memes, and then bam!
Yeah.
You stumble upon something that makes you question if humanity's even trying anymore.
It's like the Wild West out there.
Right. And that, my friend, is exactly where content moderation comes in. Or, well, sometimes it doesn't come in, and we're left with, well,
Yeah, the stuff of nightmares.
We've got a stack of articles here all about how things are changing, particularly with how companies are approaching this whole content moderation game.
Big time.
And the big story seems to be TikTok's headlong leap into the world of AI moderation.
It's not just them, though. Pretty much everyone's realizing that doing it the old-fashioned way, with humans, well...
It's like trying to put out a forest fire with a squirt gun.
Exactly. And these articles really lay out why.
Because it's not even just about catching the truly terrible stuff, is it?
No, not at all. It's the gray areas, well, maybe this is bad, that really make things tough.
The maybes.
Right. And those are judgment calls. Humans have to make them, and humans, well.
And humans are expensive.
That's the thing. Training them, paying them, making sure they know all the ever-changing rules of the internet.
It adds up.
Big time. One of these articles even put a number on it.
Oh, yeah.
A single human moderator can cost a company over $100,000 per year.
$100,000?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. So you can see why this whole AI thing is looking pretty darn appealing.
No kidding. But, I mean, this isn't just about saving a few bucks, right? We're talking about basically deciding what we see and don't see online and handing that power over to, well, algorithms.
Right, and it's a big deal. And some of these articles highlighted just how serious companies are about this whole AI thing. Did you hear about the TikTok layoffs?
Leah, how many people are we talking?
Over 500 content moderators in Malaysia alone.
Whoa.
Yeah, just one company, one country, 500 people out of a job. It shows you how much things are changing.
500 people is a lot of eyes off the internet. But I gotta ask, is cheaper really always better? Can AI really truly handle the nuances of what we humans say and do online? Sarcasm, irony, that whole bless your heart thing that sounds sweet but really isn't. Can AI figure that out?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yep.
And it's exactly what we're going to dive into next, because while AI might be able to spot a cat meme in a heartbeat, can it tell the difference between a heated political debate and genuine, harmful hate speech?
It's kind of like, can you teach a robot to understand a dad joke?
It's a really good question, and a lot of these articles actually pretty deep into the weeds on how these AI systems are actually trained, like the nuts and bolts of it.
Okay, so walk me through it. How does an AI learn what's naughty and what's nice?
So imagine feeding a massive computer a buffet of internet. I'm talking text, images, videos, the whole shebang, and everything is labeled. This is hate speech, this is spam, this is cat video,
Gotcha. So the AI is basically binging on internet junk food, but it's also getting a crash course in what not to do.
Exactly. And as it gobbles up all that data, it starts to notice patterns.
Like what? Give me an example.
Sure. Let's say it sees the phrase "go back to" a bunch of times, and each time that phrase is part of a hateful comment.
Ah, so it starts to think, okay, that phrase equals bad news.
Exactly. It's all about pattern recognition on a massive scale. But here's where things get tricky.
Because the internet is a weird and wonderful place.
It really is. And sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, But AI doesn't always get that. One of these articles had this really interesting example, and it really stuck with me.
Hit me with it.
They talked about this situation where an AI system kept flagging posts that were critical of a certain government policy.
Okay.
But here's the thing. These posts weren't using slurs, they weren't calling for violence or anything like that, but they were using strong language. And the AI, because it had been trained on all this data, it kept interpreting that strong language as potentially harmful.
So even if it's not trying to silence dissent, it still ends up doing it by accident.
That's the worry. And it gets at one of the biggest limitations of AI right now.
Which is?
Context. Humans, well, we're pretty good at reading between the lines, right? We can tell when someone is joking, when they're being sarcastic, or even just venting because they had a bad day. But AI, still working on that whole nuance thing.
Right. Back to that whole human touch idea.
Yeah.
But look, if humans are so great at this, why even bother with AI? Why not just stick with human moderators?
Well, you remember those costs we were talking about earlier?
$100,000 per human.
Yeah, those costs add up fast, especially for companies that have to deal with, like, a fire hose of content every single minute.
True.
Plus, and this is key, AI is fast. Like, really fast. Say something truly terrible pops up online.
Something that would make even the most hardened internet users say, nope.
Exactly. An AI can potentially flag that and get it taken down within seconds.
Wow.
Way faster than a human
yeah.
ever could.
So it's a trade-off. Speed and efficiency versus, like you said, nuance and judgment. But it still feels like we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here. What's the solution? Are we doomed to either live under the rule of AI overlords or drown in a sea of digital garbage?
I don't think it's that bleak. Most of the folks who wrote these articles seem to think that the future of content moderation isn't about AI replacing humans entirely. It's about figuring out a way for them to work together.
Okay, so like a tag team. AI and humans fighting the good fight side by side.
Exactly. A hybrid model, they call it.
Okay, I like it. So how's that supposed to work?
So picture this. AI is the first line of defense. They're sifting through all the content all the time, flagging anything that looks even a little bit suspicious. But instead of making the final call, they kick it up to a human moderator.
So it's like the AI is the goalie, right?
Yeah.
Blocking all the really obvious shots.
Yeah,
But then you still need a ref to decide if that close call was actually over the line or not.
100%. And that's where human judgment still can't be beat, at least for now.
But even then, I mean, humans, we're not exactly known for being like perfectly unbiased creatures, are we?
That's right. And that's what makes content moderation so tricky, right? What's offensive or harmful.
Yep.
It's not always clear cut. It depends on who you ask, where they're from, even what kind of day they're having.
So is the goal then like to create this perfectly neutral AI moderator? Because that sounds about as likely as, I don't know, teaching a cat to fetch.
Yeah, probably not going to happen. It's less about neutrality, I think, and more about trying to be as fair and as transparent as possible.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, one of these articles made a really good point about this. They said, even with this whole hybrid model, we got to be really careful about how we're training these AI systems in the first place.
You mean like what kind of stuff we're feeding them to learn from?
Exactly. It's that whole garbage in, garbage out problem. If we train an AI on a bunch of data that's already biased one way or another.
It's going to be biased too.
Bingo.
So like if all your friends are obsessed with pineapple on pizza, you're going to start to think everyone loves pineapple on pizza.
Right. And you might accidentally offend some pepperoni lovers along the way.
Exactly. So in this case, pepperoni lovers, they're out of luck.
Well, that's why this hybrid approach is so important. We need humans in the loop, checking the AI's work, making sure it's not going off the rails, and, accidentally banning pepperoni pizza lovers.
Okay, so let's bring this back down to earth for a second.
Okay.
What does all of this mean for me, the average person who just wants to look at funny animal pictures online without having an existential crisis?
It means that the internet you see tomorrow might look a little different than the internet you saw yesterday. AI moderation is becoming more and more common, so you might start to see things disappearing more quickly, sometimes even before you have a chance to report them.
So it's going to be a lot harder to be offended by a stranger's opinion in the comments section.
Maybe, but there's always the flip side, too.
Which is?
Well, what about those accidental takedowns we were talking about? What if the AI gets it wrong? What if that comment you made that was clearly a joke gets flagged and you end up, in Facebook jail?
Nobody wants that.
Nope. And that's why it's so important for us to be talking about this stuff. We need to be thinking about the trade-offs, the potential for censorship, and how we balance that with the very real need to make the internet a safer and less hateful place.
Well said. It's a conversation that's only going to get more important as time goes on, that's for sure. So, to wrap things up for our listeners today, what's the big takeaway here?
The big takeaway is this: pay attention. The internet is changing right before our eyes, and it's up to all of us to decide what we want that future to look like.
Couldn't agree more.
Oh.
So do your research, think critically, and let's all work together to make sure the internet of tomorrow is a place where we can all feel safe, respected, and maybe even entertained every once in a while. That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. We'll catch you next time for more explorations into the wild world of tech and culture. Until then, happy surfing.